Why do I need to learn how to read if AI can read for me?
I teach 8th grade history, and I have 110-ish students. 2 of them are reading on grade level right now. 18 of them are at a kindergarten level. 55 of those students are between a 2nd and 4th grade level. We were doing guided notes, supposed to be a real easy day. It was review. They wrote down Maryland was founded as a safe haven for Catholics. It was on the board. They wrote it down. And before we moved on, I call on a student and I ask, hey, where were the Catholics one more time? And these students, what they do is they look at me, and then they look at their notes, and then they look at the board. They look back at their notes. And some of them never answered me. They never figured out the answer. It was wild. And I kept giving them hints, like rephrasing the question and saying, like, it's in your notes. We just wrote it down. We just wrote it down. Where are the Catholics? It's on the board. And they never got it. They can't read their own notes. And I don't mean their handwriting. I mean, like, they can't make heads or tails of it on the page. These kids have a frightening ability for information to go from their eyes to their hands and not pass through the brain at all. What do we do, y'all? That ship is sailing across the ocean and there is no one at the wheel.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Layla, and you're on Love Layla's Creations. So today we are going to be talking about the learning epidemic. This is a big problem within the education community, so we'll be getting into all of that. And as the lady said, this is the ship that has sailed and there's no one on the wheel. And with that being said, let's get into the video. So within the learning community or education in general, there has been a decrease in reading efficiency, or just like spelling and grammar in general. Kids do not know how to spell, kids do not know how to read, and reading at 2nd to 4th grade level, even though they're in like high school. And I'm not saying all kids are like this, but the amount of kids that don't know how to read or spell is alarming, especially at their age. Now, this could be a mix of parenting and school system issues. The school system values just getting the kids out there rather than actually teaching them. Now, not the teachers themselves are the culprits. Certain teachers are not the ones in the wrong here. There are some that actually care about wanting the students to grow into the next grade smarter and wiser than they were before. But the fact that the school system prioritizes them getting to the next grade and pushing them closer to graduation rather than actually keeping them in the grade long enough so that they can actually learn. And then you get surprised when the kid isn't doing well in their grade. If their grade felt rushed instead of actually them learning something? What if they didn't actually learn what they were meant to because the units only last like a couple days, hours long? Back in how my school worked, the units would be maybe like a couple days long. We would start, in the middle of it we would learn, and then the end we would close it. It was really fast. It felt short in general. Like, I'd have to take notes, I'd have to swallow all that information, and then we wouldn't go back to it after. I even had to have a tutor because I was so, like, the math wasn't even getting in my head, which also proves that if I'm the one that's struggling with math in a place that's supposed to be specifically for education and learning, then Jen, can you imagine the kids that have to be in school all the time through half of their life actually staying in the system that prioritizes speed and efficiency over actual learning quality? This is a huge problem. On the parent side of the story, parents need to take accountability for their kid. If their kid isn't learning, you take them home and have a discussion. What is it that you feel like you're struggling with within the school? Is there anything that I can help you with? Do I need to get you any books? Stuff like that. And when you get your kids the books, help them with it. Stay by their side and teach them. And if they're not learning, you go to the school and talk to them about it. Don't just complain the first time you see, like, oh yeah, the teacher comes calling you, talking to you about the kid and what problems they should fix about it, especially if the teacher is being nice to you. I feel like this is a very big accountability problem because parents will normally blame the teachers for their kids because their kids spend most of their day with the teachers more than their parents. So the parents are like, wait, if my kid is with the teacher or if my kid is at the school most of the time, it's kind of like, who is there to blame for my child's, problem? Who is there to blame for my child not getting the proper education? What if it's not the teacher's fault, but the child is just a visual learner, a more hands-on learner? Like, find things, study your kid, analyze your kid, and then maybe you would see an increase in learning capability. You would see an increase in them being able to do certain things and be able to read and spell and write. And as that lady said in the other video, these kids took the notes, right? They took the notes, they saw the board, they wrote it down. They couldn't even read their own notes. They could not even read their own notes that they wrote down from the board. And as she said, it went through their eyes down to their hands, but it did not go through their brain at all. And that's very alarming, because how are we going to completely disregard the brain process if we find ourselves not using our brains as much as we were supposed to? Then imagine how dependent we'll have to become on certain things, like even using the bathroom, if this is how our education system is going to be. If we are already seeing a decrease in reading comprehension, writing, spelling, then imagine what it will be like when this starts leaking into other areas of life, like talking and socially interacting. Some kids can't even go outside and actually interact, but online they have no problem talking, and they say school is for social interacting. Like, come on, we should be able to use those social interacting skills out in the real world, but nobody is using them. Like, it just sounds like excuses. Now, enough of me talking. Let's move on to the next video.
Asking parents to start working with teachers in order to get their children to where they need to be in terms of literacy. I'm a 7th grade teacher. A lot of my students read very well below grade level. And so I need help from other parents to help work with their kids outside of school to reinforce the things that I'm teaching in school. Y'all would have thought that I told somebody to climb Mount Everest in the middle of winter during an avalanche with the anvil strapped on their back. I got so many people making videos blaming people like me for why their kids can't read. I got somebody even threatened my life because I said that. Because something as small as reading to your child for 30 minutes a day is so insurmountable you can't do it. But you'll be on your TikTok for 30 minutes a day. And like, I understand it can be hard, right? I can understand that y'all got multiple jobs and y'all doing all this stuff here. I get it. I get it. My mom was a single parent and she was raising 2 kids and she was going to college and everything at the same time. However, she had to do it because the reality of the situation, this is what it is. You can point fingers and blame who you want, but the reality is these children cannot read on grade level. And we are having to dumb down curriculum to get these kids to where they need to be, and they're not getting there. This is not a me problem. This is not a you problem. This is a systemic issue, and we cannot fix it if we're blaming each other and not helping each other. Baby, this is the curriculum. This is what we have to teach. It would behoove you, for your child's sake, to work with the teacher to get your child to that level. If your child has a reading disability, girl, you can get an IEP, you can get a 504. We can figure something out to help your child. I just spent $70 getting a book set for some kids because I think that they would like to read this book better than reading the stupid books that we have to read in the classes that they're not going to gain anything from, right? But nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to change as long as we sit here pointing the finger and not actually dealing with the issue. These kids can't read. Let's teach our children how to read. These kids can't do math. Let's teach these kids to do math. If you don't understand how to read it, if you don't understand something, you can email the teachers and y'all can work together. It is a team. It takes a village to raise these babies. As long as y'all keep being hyper independent, nothing is going to change. I promise you. And I'm not the only one saying this. There are thousands, if not millions of teachers across this country who are saying the same damn thing. Help the teachers that are here. They're trying to help you and society. And like, I know a lot of people are out here banning books and everything. I live in Florida too. But I'm like, baby, what's the point of banning a book that the children aren't going to read in the first place? You can ban the book. They can't read it. What if, go with me, we just focus on getting them to read. Then you can monitor what they're reading. I don't even care. Can they read? Can they read? Can they
I think he summed it up perfectly, and I think this also circles back to accountability on the parents' part. Listen, just because your kid stays in the school with the same teacher, 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, does not mean that it's always the teacher's fault for why the kid can't read. It's also a part of like, hey, parents, can you go home and like try your best, find time out of your day to like teach your kid to like read a sentence a day, to write like a sentence a day, to learn spacing, all this kind of stuff. Not even like in big chunks, like you have to spend an hour, 30 minutes. If you don't have that time, at least take the time that you do have to teach your kid what you know or what you think that they need to work on. And another thing, this isn't always just like the parents' part, like, hey, you guys, you're not taking accountability. It can also circle back to the teachers that aren't putting effort into teaching the class or getting mad easily over the class that they're teaching, when your job is to be patient and understanding with these kids to teach them better. But the main issue is, what are we going to do when these kids are going out into the big world and they can't read, they can't do math, they can't write, they can't do grammar, they can't punctuate, they can't write, they can't do cursive, they can't do nothing. So what are we going to do when these kids go out in the big world? Society, we need to learn like, hey, your kid cannot read, your kid cannot write. What are we going to do about it? Let's talk. We have to stop living in independency. As humans, we are made to connect and work together. But as a society, we have learned to depend on ourselves, because nobody in the society, we cannot rely on anybody but our families and ourselves. And if we don't got a family, all we can rely on is ourselves. And when you're in that kind of situation, it's really hard to get out of that and kind of get used to like getting help from somebody else. But you have to understand that we were raised in a society that is so independent that when it comes to like going in a group project, doing small things such as socializing or asking for help from another adult to adult. So we need to reverse this, and it's not going to be easy, but we need to get rid of this mentality that all we need is ourselves. And it's not coming from like, oh yeah, it's going to be easy, reverse this, reverse that, just do what we used to do back then, which is work together and connect. Because it also stems from a place of safety. We are not safe out on these streets. We cannot even go out at night without worrying about our safety. Or even in the day, because people are grabbing kids left and right day and night. If it does stem from a safety issue, and which is where we get some of our individuality from, because we cannot rely on just anybody to help us, or we cannot just be friends with just anybody, then that is a big problem, because kidnapping has started a while ago, and it has just kept going, and it's just a big problem. The problem gets bigger and bigger and bigger as time moves on. Anyway, other than that, let's move on to the next video.
Utmost like love and patience that I can say it with. Y'all, the literacy rates right now are insane. They're crazy. Kids aren't reading. They're not recognizing letters. They're not recognizing letter sounds. This is gonna go much deeper than we think it's going to go. There's teachers in 5th grade saying that their students are reading on a 2nd, 3rd grade level. I have students that can't recognize their letter sounds. I teach 1st grade.
So as you can see, this is a problem from day one of school for a lot of kids, where they aren't learning the foundations of reading, so they have nothing to build upon. 1st grade teacher shares, most years by the 3rd week of 1st grade, Heather Miller is working with her class on writing the beginning, middle, and end of simple words. This year, she had to backtrack all the way to the letter H.
We've all heard of the issues with these kids that are being raised on iPads and the parents blaming teachers and not being hands-on in their academics. But when I tell you I was absolutely flabbergasted at the interaction that I had with a child yesterday, I just have no words for it. I'm a bartender at a resort, and this family came up to the bar to order their food. One of the kids, who's about 8 or 9 years old, asked what flavor of Dippin' Dots we had, so I handed her a menu. This way she could read the flavors, and I was going to continue helping the rest of the party. When I tell you that I handed her the menu and she looks at me dead in the eyes and goes, I can't read. I was left absolutely speechless for a few seconds. You're going to tell me around 2nd, 3rd grade she can't read?
And the trends only get worse. In 2022, nearly 70% of 8th graders scored below proficient.
1st graders don't know how to, can't recognize their letter sounds. Excuse me? I thought that from my research that kids do not know how to spell or write or read. Letter sounds? How do you forget that? How do you not know that? You cannot forget that. You have to not have been taught in the first place to forget letter sounds. Like, we're talking 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds don't know their letter sounds. This is a huge issue because we are, as a society, are supposed to teach kids, right? We are supposed to, like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even know how to put it into words because it's like I've never quite heard something like that before. Aside from that, with the kid at the resort saying that she can't read. If I was in that situation, I'll probably just look at the parent, think about her teachers, all the adults around her who could have taught her, wondering why she doesn't know how to read. 8 or 9, right? 2nd, 3rd grade. Why are we not teaching our kids properly? Why are we not restricting the screen time? Why are we pacifying the kids just so that the parents can have a little break time? Give them toys. Give them 30 minutes of screen time. That's all they need. Their frontal lobe is still developing. They don't know what's good for them. It is your chance to enforce some kind of hey, this is what you should be doing to help improve your life so you don't grow up dumb and you don't know how to do certain things. They cannot fight back because they don't know any better. So what do you mean that now at a young age of 5, we're giving kids devices they use hours and hours on end? They bring during homework time, during school, during bed, while they sleep, while they stay up. There should be some kind of hey, it's time to turn off the phone, give it to me, go do something else. Let them get bored. I have no idea why we have 8 to 9-year-olds who don't know how to read. Now, this is not all Gen Alpha, Gen Z. This is not all the kids within that range. It's a big chunk of those kids who don't know how to do certain things. And that's alarming because if the school system really was working, if the school system was really helping kids, all kids in America, all kids in the world should be reading on the grade level that they're in. What are we doing? Are you saying that these will be future construction workers, future lawyers, future doctors, people we will trust our lives with, and they don't know how to do certain things? You may just be busy or you have multiple jobs, you can't be there all the way for your child. But when you have time, when you have a day off, take that, okay, to teach your kid what they're struggling in the best way that you can. Give them books. Leave them, if they're old enough, to give them a book. Tell them, hey, I'm going to be gone for work for a couple of hours. I want you to read this book for 30 minutes, an hour, and call me when you're done. Show me your work on FaceTime. That's it. As a parent, sometimes you have to be creative so that your kid can grow up to have a better life, to learn basic morals, to do basic things, to be able to grow the basics so that they can survive out in the real world. But we're not doing that. We are entrusting a tablet to raise our kids. And not to even mention, AI is also a big part of why Gen Z, Gen Alpha is not able to read and write, because they think that AI can do it for them. They're acting like their phones will be with them for their entire lives. Even parents are okay with their kids using AI to a certain degree. At some point, right, it's okay to use AI to a certain degree for your homework, from what I believe, because if AI is going to take over our lives, we have to learn to use it so that we don't become dependent on it, but to learn it so that when the future comes and technology becomes even more advanced, eventually we will be able to know how to use it and not be in trouble because we don't know how to use AI to a certain degree. But I think that in a way, people should be using AI for homework is if there's something you don't understand, take the book, think I'm going to try to do this. If I don't understand something, I'm going to get AI to help me with it. Okay? And only do this when your parents aren't around. When your parents don't know any better than you. When somebody can't help you right now, when they're busy. That's only when you use AI. When you pull out your book with the motive, I'm going to figure this out, no AI involved, then that's fine. But when you literally cannot understand something for the life of you, then that's when you pull out AI. Say, hey, I need help with this math problem. Please help me with it. And don't give me the answer. Please just make me understand it better, simplify, right? That's it. That's how I use AI personally for my homework. But if kids are using AI to write full-on essays, to, solve math problems, right? Imagine, what kind of accomplishment are we feeling during graduation? I feel like the only feeling we feel is relief because we finally get to move on to this next level of life. But imagine you go on to this next level of life with no actual knowledge because AI did it all for you. People are thinking that, right, a non-feeling being can get us through life. Come on, we act like we are the most independent beings on the world, right? Some people go around boasting that I don't need anybody. What if you're one of the people that use AI to help you with your homework? Is that really independent of you? Not really. Not really. You think you can wipe your own butt and cook your own food, but do you know how to solve a math problem on your own? Probably not. So, I don't understand. So, when I hear some people are using AI to complete their homework, not even complete, do their homework for them. Kids that should be knowing full on how to read paragraphs don't know how to read. Kids who don't know how to write, their brains don't work for basic common sense, okay? They prefer watching TikToks rather than actually learning. What if you give your average DoorDash worker your order, they can't read your order? They can't read their own receipt. What if? I hope this fails because if this is the last, in a couple of years, this will be the last couple of years that we will get of some kind of sane understanding of what we are doing within the school education system, then we will actually be doomed. But other than that, that's it for today's video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to click the bell notification so you know whenever I post a new video. Opinion in the comment section. If I left anything out, I would love to hear it. If you guys have any personal experiences that you would love to share, I would love to hear it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!